The sound struck before the sting did. A slap, then another. Then silence so thick it rang inside her skull. Eliza's breath caught halfway to a scream. Her fingers dug into the bedsheet like it might save her. It couldn't. Nothing could. The man by the wall, the one who used to be her husband, just stood there, shadowed by the lamplight. Caleb. His eyes held no life, only the flat chill of desert midnight. "Do it," he said, his voice dry as sand, "or I lose everything." Her heart splintered right there. Not from his hand, but from what those words meant. He wasn't fighting for her. He was selling her. The walls seemed to sway. The air turned thick like smoke. She tried to fight, to scream, but her voice vanished somewhere between the sound of boots and breathing. Something deep inside her cracked, and it would never mend. When it ended, the stranger buttoned his coat and left without a word. The door shut behind him. Caleb stayed. He lit a cigarette, his hands too calm for a man who'd just traded his soul. Eliza sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floorboards. The sweat, the dust, the blood, all one color now. She whispered, almost to herself, "You're not my husband." Caleb didn't turn. He exhaled a gray stream of smoke and muttered, "You were never my wife. Just dead." That was the last thing she ever heard from him. Eliza stood on shaking legs. Her skin was cold, though the night air burned warm. She pulled her torn dress from the chair, wrapped a ripped jacket around her shoulders, as if fabric could hide the shame. Then she walked out. No tears, no words, just the crunch of gravel beneath bare feet. The road out of town stretched endless and empty. Cicadas screamed in the heat. Her throat was dry, her breath shallow. Wind pushed dust against her face, carrying the faint scent of horses from far away. Every step felt heavier than the last, like the desert itself judged her. But stopping meant dying. The sun climbed, burning her shoulders raw. Her lips split, her hands trembled, but she kept moving. Past the last cactus, past the final fence, until the ground turned red and the air went silent. By midday she saw it, a ranch crouched behind a hill, framed by fences and stacks of hay. A man was there, working alone, repairing a post, slow and steady. Sweat shimmered on his skin, broad chest, calloused hands. The kind of man the desert couldn't scare anymore. Rhett Mallory. Eliza froze. Her breath hitched. Her heart screamed run, but her body begged for mercy. She tried to call out. Her voice cracked. Rhett looked up, squinting against the light. He saw her. Tangled hair, dirt-streaked skin, unsteady steps. Fear lived in her eyes before beauty did. He dropped his hammer and walked toward her. Eliza stumbled backward. "No, please," she gasped, voice trembling. "Don't come near me," her hands shook. Knees buckled. The world tilted. Rhett caught her before she hit the ground, strong, steady, gentle. Her body flinched at his touch. "You're safe now, miss," he said, voice low, steady. She didn't believe him. Couldn't. Every promise she'd ever heard had turned to poison. But her body wouldn't move. It had already given up. The air shimmered gold with heat, cruel and beautiful all at once. Rhett lifted her easily, carrying her toward the cabin. Eliza's eyes fluttered open for a final glimpse of sky before darkness took her. Her lips moved without sound. Maybe a prayer. Maybe nothing at all. The door closed behind them. Only one question remained. Had she finally found safety? Or just another kind of hell? When she woke, the first thing she noticed wasn't pain. It was scent. Soap. Plain, clean, honest soap. The kind that smelled of water and wood, not perfume. Her eyes opened slow. Above her, a patched ceiling of rough boards let streaks of sunlight fall across her face like small blessings. For a moment she forgot everything. Then she saw him, Rhett, sitting near the window, hat resting on his knee, watching the fence line. He turned when she stirred. "Easy now," he said. "You've been out near half a day." His tone wasn't soft, but not cold either. The kind of voice a man gets when he's forgotten how to speak to people. Eliza tried to rise, but the world spun. Rhett poured a glass of water, handed it to her with hands that were large, rough yet careful, like he feared breaking something fragile. She drank slowly. Her throat burned. Her eyes scanned the room. A small table, 2 cups, a rifle by the door. Everything clean, simple, The kind of order that doesn't need words to explain itself. "You brought me here," she whispered. Rhett nodded once. "You were near done for." "Had to do something. Why help a stranger?" she asked. He waited before answering. "Guess I got tired of burying folks who didn't deserve what happened to them." Silence filled the room again. Only the soft sigh of summer wind moved through the trees. "My husband sold me," she said finally. Rhett didn't move, but his jaw tightened, the kind of tight that keeps words from spilling out. She told him everything then. Caleb, the debt, the night, the shame. No tears, no tremble, just the hollow voice of someone who'd run out of lies to tell. When she finished, Rhett nodded. "No pity, no false comfort." He just stood, grabbed his hat and said quietly, "You rest. I'll fix that gate before sundown." Then he stepped out, leaving her with the open door and a silence that felt almost kind. For the first time in months, Eliza felt something close to pain, not fear, not sorrow. Something that almost felt like hope. But what she didn't know was that the past she'd fled from was already on its way back. Days passed quiet, too quiet. Eliza grew stronger. She could walk again, feed the chickens, sweep the porch. Sometimes she even hummed a tune she didn't remember learning. Rhett kept his distance, always fixing something, always pretending not to notice how her laughter softened the air. By the fourth morning, he said he was heading into town. Promised to bring her something proper to wear. She smiled, small, uncertain, but real. It had been a long time since anyone had thought of her that way. The heat that day was heavy. Flies buzzed thick around the barn, and the world smelled like hay and sunburnt wood. Eliza was hanging laundry when she heard it. Hoofbeats. Not the slow rhythm of a traveler. Fast, angry. Her heart froze. Before she could move, a shadow crossed the yard. Caleb. He swung down from his horse. That same crooked grin stretched across his face, the one that used to charm her. Now turned to poison. "Well, there you are," he said. "Took me long enough to find what's mine." Eliza stiffened. "I'm not yours," she said, voice breaking. "Not anymore." He laughed sharp and mean. "You think some old ranch hand makes you free?" He grabbed her arm. She pulled back hard, but he was stronger. The basin crashed, spilling water across the dirt. She screamed, clawing, kicking, desperate. "Let me go!" she cried. Then another sound. A horse, close. A man's voice like thunder. "Get your damn hands off her, Rhett." Dust whirled around him. His face red from the ride, eyes locked on Caleb like a loaded gun. Caleb turned. "Who the hell are you to touch another man's wife?" Rhett stepped closer. "From where I'm standing, I see no husband here. Just a coward who sold the woman he should have protected." Caleb sneered, but fear flashed behind it. He swung first. He didn't get far. Rhett's fist landed hard. Once, twice. Each blow packed years of quiet fury. The sound cracked through the still air. When it ended, Caleb lay in the dirt, groaning. Rhett stood over him, breath heavy. "Right away." "Don't come back," Caleb spat blood. "You'll regret this, old man." Rhett said nothing. He turned to Eliza, helped her to her feet. She was shaking, tears cutting clean lines through the dust. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You're safe now," he whispered. But both of them knew. Safety never lasted long in the West. That night, the stars burned brighter than usual. Eliza sat by the window, staring at the quiet hills. Rhett leaned in the doorway, arms folded. Neither spoke. Both felt it, the stillness before the next storm. And somewhere in that silence, trouble was already riding their way. The sun was high when Rhett spotted the riders on the road. Two of them. Trouble rode in their dust. He knew it by the way the dirt cloud trailed behind, straight and sure. Eliza stood on the porch, fingers gripping the rail, heart pounding. Her eyes already knew what her mind didn't want to believe. Caleb was coming back. Rhett stepped through the gate slow, calm, but ready. The second rider's badge flashed in the light, a sheriff's star. When they drew near, Rhett's eyes narrowed, then softened just a touch. "Tom Reeves," he said quietly. "Didn't reckon I'd see you again." Tom swung off his horse, his boots landing heavy on the dry earth. "Been a long while, Rhett. Since Shiloh Creek, wasn't it?" Rhett nodded once. "That's right." The day the river ran red. Tom's gaze drifted toward the horizon, the memory tightening his jaw. "Still hear the guns at night," he murmured. Rhett gave a slow nod. Two men bound by battles that never really ended. Some silences didn't need words. Then Caleb broke it. "This man assaulted me," he shouted, pointing. "Sheriff, he took my wife." Tom turned toward him, his expression unreadable. "Your wife?" he asked evenly. Caleb's voice rose. "She's in that cabin right now. He's keeping her from me." Rhett didn't move, didn't blink. His tone stayed even. "She came here because you sold her, Caleb. You know that." Caleb laughed, a thin sound with no warmth. "You got no proof." Tom's eyes shifted to Eliza, standing at the porch steps, pale but steady. "Ma'am," he said softly, removing his hat. "You want to tell me what happened?" Her voice trembled, but her words cut clear through the hot air. "He's lying. That man sold me to pay off his gambling debt. I ran. Rhett found me half dead and saved my life." Tom ran a rough hand through his gray hair. He'd heard lies his whole career. This wasn't one. He turned back to Caleb. "You got nerve showing up asking for justice when you never understood what that word meant." Caleb's mouth twisted. "You gonna let him get away with this?" Tom's voice didn't rise. "I'm gonna let you ride away before I remember I still know how to draw." The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut. Even the horses stopped shifting. Caleb glared at Rhett, hate simmering behind his eyes. "You'll regret this," he hissed. Rhett stepped close enough for him to see every scar on his weathered hands. "Not as much as you already do." For a moment it looked like Caleb might go for his gun, but he didn't. He turned his horse, spitting dust and fury, and rode hard into the horizon. Tom watched until the dust settled. Then he looked back at Rhett. "You still find trouble easy as you used to." Rhett gave a dry chuckle. "Guess trouble still remembers where I live." Tom smiled faintly. "Take care of her, Rhett. You owe yourself that much." He mounted up and rode away, his figure shrinking against the gold horizon until he vanished down the same road that had brought him. Eliza stepped closer, her voice soft as wind. "Is it over now?" Rhett looked out toward the hills, eyes narrowed. The air was too still. "Not yet," he said. "Men like him don't quit easy." And somewhere under that same burning sky, Caleb was already planning his next move. Weeks drifted by. The ranch stayed quiet, a kind of quiet that only follows when the storm has done its worst. Rhett spent his days fixing fences, feeding the horses, and pretending not to notice the way Eliza's voice hummed through the air. She was changing. No longer broken, just different. Her eyes softer now, her step steady again. Some evenings she'd sit on the porch, speaking of small dreams, a garden full of herbs, a home where no one had to keep looking over their shoulder. Rhett listened, sometimes smiling, sometimes silent. He didn't say it out loud, but he knew she'd already built that peace right here on his land. One hot afternoon, a lone rider came down the road. Young, dusty, nervous, he handed Rhett a folded paper. A letter from town. Rhett read it slow, his face unreadable. Then he folded it, slid it into his pocket. Eliza saw the shift in his eyes. "What is it?" she asked. He looked at her a long while before answering. "Caleb's gone." Her hands froze mid-air. "Gone?" Rhett nodded. "Word is he couldn't pay his debts. The men he owed found him behind the saloon last week. Left him breathing, but barely. The West always collects what it's owed." Eliza didn't speak. She turned her gaze toward the open field, watching tall grass bend in the wind. No smile, no triumph, just a quiet ache. After a long pause, she whispered, "I thought seeing him suffer would make me feel better." "But it doesn't," Rhett nodded slowly. "That's because you already moved on." The sun began to sink, painting the land in amber and gold. Eliza looked back at him, her voice steady now. "Maybe he paid his debt after all. Just not the way he expected." Rhett studied her face in the fading light. For the first time in years, he didn't see a survivor. He saw someone reborn. From that day on, the ranch breathed again. Fences stood straight. Horses grew strong. Two worn souls learned that healing wasn't about forgetting. It was about planting something new where pain once lived. Some evenings, Rhett sat on the porch, hat tilted low, watching the sky fade to pink. Eliza would bring him coffee, her hand brushing his a moment longer than needed. Words weren't necessary anymore. Peace had finally found them. And maybe that's what every hard story tries to tell, that some people come into our lives only to break us open so we can grow back stronger. That losing what hurts us isn't punishment. It's freedom. So let me ask you something, partner. If life handed you one more chance to rebuild, what would you do with it? Would you run, or would you stay and fight for peace, like Rhett and Eliza did? If their story found a place in your heart, give this tale a like, and don't forget to subscribe, because the quietest endings are the ones that linger the longest.